Start with a dream and share it with some friends. The idea deepens and grows. The dream takes shape, it has form and substance, and community soon arose. A listening room, a hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, the hearing room, express yourself and have your say. The walls are thin, and sirens blare. The tables sit near folding chairs. The stage is set with paint and glue, and love went into every screw. The light shine bright on every star. They come to play from near and far. The light shine bright on every star. They come to play from near and far. The listening room, the hearing room, a place to find a home to play. The listening room, the hearing room, express yourself and have your say. Hearing room, a listening room. You're welcome here, so have no fear. The hearing room, the hearing room. Come in, my friend, where art can bloom.
And welcome to the Hearing Room podcast. I'm Aaron Tornberg, and we're here today with Kirsten Manville, who is going to play some great stuff for us, tell us about what's going on in her life and what has gone on in her life and all that good stuff. How are you doing, Kirsten?
I'm doing great, Aaron. Thank you for having me.
Sure, no problem, and we're very glad, and I've been meaning to have you on for a while, but you're, at the other end of the city.
That's
so,
right.
And busy. So we'll talk to Kristen in a minute. And I wanted to tell you about the Hearing Room and the things we have coming up. We always have the following events. We have Blues Jam on Mondays once a month. That's the second Monday. We have the podcast on the Monday as well. And this is a good example of that. You are probably listening to this, I think, on a Thursday. So we have it Monday and Thursday, 7 o'clock. But we also have lots of events going on at the Hearing Room Live. For example, on Tuesdays, we have the open mic. And that one is a typical open mic. We do it on the stage. And we have a great time. There's lots of participation. We have the Let's Have Words program. That is the spoken word evening. Often there's a guest who comes in to read their stuff, and it's also an open mic for other writers. So that is 7 to 10 on Wednesday. And on Thursday, we have the Singin' Jam. The Singin' Jam is the evening of party. Everybody comes and plays together all in the hearing room, and you can bring your guitar and you play with the chords and words on screen. And Fridays, we're starting to do a lot of jams, and we also do some live performances. But the Bluegrass Jam is the third Friday. I've started doing an acoustic jam, which is strictly acoustic, and that is on the first Friday. And there will be other events coming up. For example, we have a Pink Floyd night coming up. The Pink Floyd night will be, again, open mic, but you have to play Pink Floyd. So if you like Pink Floyd and you know some good stuff, you should definitely give that a look. So on Saturdays, we have different events as well. We have a songwriters circle. That is 1 o'clock every other Saturday. And then we have on Saturday night various events. One of the big events we have is Drone Night. And we also have electronic shows and other stuff that tends to be more rock-based, but it could be anything. Again, check our website, hearingroom.net, for more info. And on Sunday, we have the drum circle from 12:30 to 1:30. The drum circle is a lot of fun. It's a big group of people all banging on things, random things, drum things, whatever they can find. And it is led by a drummer, so there will be some guidance. It's not just a free-for-all, but it's great because you all can kind of play off of each other. Then we have the open mic I run 2 to 5 p.m. on Sundays. It's every Sunday, and it's in the round. So you sit in chairs on the floor, and you just go around the circle. We share songs with each other. It's a great time. We spend 3 hours just having a relaxing Sunday. All right, so we also want to thank the Greenville Junction Shoppy. The Greenville Junction Shop is an upcycling shop. They take stuff that has been used before but is in great shape still, and the stuff they have varies, but it's furniture and household appliances and all kinds of things that you wouldn't even imagine. It's a great place to browse. You can check them out on Facebook Marketplace. They will soon have a store for you to go to. It's in Greenville, New Hampshire, and in Clinton, Massachusetts right now. That's the Greenville Junction Shop. Greenville, Greenville, Junction, Junktion, Shoppy, Shoppe. They're on Facebook, and they also have a website at greenvillejunction.com. That's Greenville, Junktion.com. And they are run by some great people, and you should go say hi to Mark when you're there. So check out their Facebook page, check them out on Facebook Marketplace, check them out in Greenville, and they're a great place to get your stuff. By the way, I've gotten a lot of great stuff there, including a table and a computer. I'll just leave it at that. But, pretty diverse items. So, Kirsten.
Aaron.
How are you?
I'm great. It's Saturday morning. It's a little cold out today, but otherwise, it's a beautiful day. It
is a little cold, but if the sun's shining, the cold doesn't count, right?
Right.
Is that the way it works? So where are you coming from today?
I live in Wakefield.
In Wakefield.
Yeah,
is that where you grew up? Or?
No, I actually grew up the town over, Reading, so just next door. But I grew up in Reading, ended up in Wakefield, but I had some travels in the middle there. Yeah, I lived in Nashville for a little while.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
To do music?
Yeah. So, and I went to school up in Maine, so I had some...
Where in Maine?
Bowdoin College.
Oh, okay.
Up in Brunswick, yeah.
Isn't that where Hawthorne went?
Yes, Hawthorne and Longfellow. Yep, exactly.
There you go. You can tell I've been to the House of the Seven Gables
yes.
in Salem, Mass. So,
which is also a cool place. Yep.
Yeah, Bowdoin. They mentioned Bowdoin, in the little card that says where he went to college.
Yeah.
But so you grew up in Reading, and how did you get to Nashville? What happened there?
So I was always really into music. My grandfather. He was a doctor, but he put himself through medical school by playing in bands and big bands.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he played saxophone and clarinet. So I was always into music. And my dad, one night when I was 8, we used to go to bed at 9 o'clock, my brother and I. But he called us downstairs on a Saturday, a little past 9, because there was that show. I don't know if you remember this, but Barbara Mandrell and the Mandrell sisters had their variety show. And my dad called us downstairs because they had those big puppets, the Truck Shackley and the whatever kid. I can't remember the name now. My dad thought we'd like the puppets, which we did, but I really loved the music. And so, and they did everything on that show. They did, more sort of the country pop, but they also did the Orange Blossom Special and Rocky Top and sort of like the older stuff and some bluegrass. They had Bill Monroe on. So I just kind of fell in love with country music at that point and just was like, oh, you can sing this stuff and you can go to Nashville and you can try to do this. And then it was probably in high school that I really, kind of reading liner notes and stuff, really thought about like songwriting, like, oh, someone has to write these songs that these people are singing. And there's a big songwriting community in Nashville. So after college, that's where I went.
Yeah. So where'd you go to? What'd you do in college when you were?
I did major in music. So I had all through growing up, I was taking piano lessons and flute lessons, and in high school voice lessons. So when I got to college, my main focuses were voice and flute, and I was doing classical. I mean, I was pretty much a classically trained flutist and pretty much a classically trained vocalist. So, I kind of had both sides of things going on. But then my senior recital, I did something, I titled it An American Sampler. So I did everything from like Copeland to Duke Ellington to Dylan. So
wow,
yeah, tried to combine everything.
Runs the gamut.
Yeah, yep.
Yeah, so. And so you got out of college and went right to Nashville, or did you do some other stuff?
Pretty much. I mean, I stayed at home for the summer and worked. I'd had the same summer job through college, and I did that one more summer. And then in September, I went down with a friend of mine from college. Although he ended up not staying when we got there. He said he missed his girlfriend who was still at Bowdoin, and he just kind of, I don't know, he sort of did a little bit of the adventure, and then was like, okay, I'm done. But I stayed, and I got actually got a temp job with the Nashville Symphony that turned into a real job. And so I had a way to support myself, and, was kind of working. I was working in the music business, the classical music business, but, had some connections into the other stuff. And I stayed for like 6.5 years. So.
Yeah, so did you go to Dollywood while you were out there?
Never made it to Dollywood, actually, because I never really went to Knoxville. Went to Graceland and saw...
Oh, I've been there, yeah.
Saw everything there. But never made it to Dollywood. Still on my bucket list.
So I have to ask you, were you moved by the time you got to the grave in Graceland?
Yes, and I was definitely moved at the grave because I didn't know until then. Like, that was the day I found out he'd had a stillborn twin. Mm. And I didn't know that beforehand. For some reason, in my learnings of Elvis before then, I never knew that he had, there were actually twins that were born, and he was the one that survived. So yeah,
I think that's one of the best shrine-ish kind of museums there is, because I was moved and I wasn't a big fan.
Yeah,
I liked Elvis. Everybody likes Elvis,
yeah.
But when you go to that home and you see what he did, because what's amazing is his work ethic was ridiculous.
Yep.
And I think you don't appreciate that until you see it.
Yeah.
Because his work ethic was like, what did he do? Like 30 films in 10 years?
Oh, it was crazy.
And recorded like 10 albums at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean,
and then put on the live shows, like all that stuff was,
pretty incredible.
Yeah.
But Nashville's, I've been there once. So where did you play when you were there?
So I I played a lot at this place called the Broken Spoke, which there's also one in Austin, and the one in Austin I think is a little bit more famous. So when I say the Broken Spoke, a lot of times people are like, "Oh, in Austin?" I'm like, "No," but it was a pretty busy kind of open mic thing that a lot of people tried to do. Writers' night. So the difference between an open mic and a writer's night, at least in Nashville at the time I was there, was that you had to be booked to play the writer's night. And that usually meant that at some point you had to go to the writer's night, sit until 1 a.m. when the writer's night was over, and then the host would get you up on stage as kind of like an open micer at 1 a.m. and sort of just make sure you weren't terrible. Like if I'm going to book you in a round, I want to make sure that you sort of know what you're doing and your songs aren't that bad or whatever.
Right.
So yeah, he would, the guy who hosted that, Dale Burry, would book rounds. I think he booked like 4 rounds every Sunday night. So I would do that a lot. There's a place called the Boardwalk Cafe I would play. 12th and Porter I played. So yeah, a lot of writers rounds in Nashville. Trying to think. And a lot of the places this was like, I moved in 95. So a lot of the places that I played don't exist anymore. So,
well, when you say, the rounds, so there's a specific style that Nashville has of the songwriters' nights. Can you, and we do songwriters' nights here. Yep. I don't think they're exactly the same. Can you kind of tell us what the difference is?
They're close, though. I mean, because I've played it around here in the hearing room. So, yeah, I mean, for people who are listening who might just not know it all, around is you have 3 or 4 or 5 songwriters on stage together, and they're basically taking turns playing songs. So, I think one of the main differences, which is more logistical than anything, a lot of times in Nashville, the writers are actually like sitting in a circle, like they're in the round, whereas here, a lot of times you're just sort of in a straight line.
Right.
And if you go to like the Bluebird Cafe or something where the writers are playing in the round, there's a lot of give and take as far as, if I'm playing a song and someone else hears something that they can play on lead guitar, they'll jump right in and do that, or harmonies or whatever. I don't think that happens quite as much here, although it does a little bit. But the main format is pretty much the same, where you're kind of taking turns. And the fun thing about them for me is that you never know where it's going to go, because someone might play a song that reminds you of a song that you have, and so you might come with an idea of what songs you're going to play, and then that goes out the window by the rest of the night. So
yeah, and I think that's what I noticed too, was the fact they're sitting in the middle of the room,
right?
And I think they had a table when I went to the Bluebird. So the songwriters are all sitting in a round table.
Yeah.
And they just like look at each other and play the stuff. I actually saw Tom Wopat.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
He actually lived right near me. I would see him at the grocery store, yeah.
Yeah, he's for those who don't know, he was in the show Dukes of Hazzard.
He was Luke Duke.
He was Luke Duke, yeah. So I have a picture with him from when I went to Nashville. And that was about the time, a little later than you, actually. Yeah. I think I was there around 98.
So I was still there, but
okay.
Yeah, because I was there from like 95 to 2001 or something like that.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, Luke Duke. So, and the other thing too is that I remember going, when I first moved down there, I made a friend and we went to a show at the Nashville and show at the Bluebird, and we left, and he said, he was a songwriter too. He said, "I'm never going to be successful at this. I'm not funny enough live like they are." Because they, every time we go to a round in the Bluebird, they just crack each other up constantly.
Right.
So,
well, they're having a good time.
They are. They're having a great time.
And that's really the key of a show is, if the musicians are having a good time, the audience is having a good time.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And you can tell with performance in any venue that's the case. Yeah. So you were in Nashville doing the job, the full-time job.
Yeah.
So how often would you go out and play?
I would go out at least a couple of times a week, if not more than that. I mean, I was 23. I didn't really have 23, 24, 25. Didn't really have anything else I needed to worry about, you know. And the job I was doing was not particularly, I mean, I started, this sounds so cliche, go to Nashville and become a receptionist, but that's what I did. So, it wasn't like it was very taxing on my brain as far as, coming home at the end of the day and being tired. So yeah, I would go out probably at least 2 or 3 nights a week and play, and I would write, and I'd have writing appointments with other writers. I mean, that was one of the best things to me about going to Nashville, is like I found my people. I found the people who wanted to talk about songwriting just as much as I wanted to, and they wanted to write and
what's a songwriting appointment? You mean like
it's like a co-write?
Co-writing,
okay. Yeah. Yep. So, and sometimes I would also just go out to listen and end up, meeting other songwriters, and because I didn't live far from the Bluebird and I didn't live far from some other places, and that I could just kind of, be there in 10 minutes. And even if I didn't stay that long, if it was a work night or whatever, I could stay for an hour and then come back home. So it was a fantastic learning experience.
What was that movie that came out about country music song with River Phoenix?
With River Phoenix. What is it called? No.
It was like
The Thing Called Love.
Yeah,
which doesn't make any sense. The title doesn't make any sense. Yeah,
but that was supposed to be kind of like a Bluebird clone representation.
Yeah.
But when I saw that, I was like, oh, I have to go to see this place. and then you go to the Bluebird. It's a strip mall.
Yes, it doesn't look anything like.
It looks like it could be a Japanese restaurant.
Yes.
It's not anything that looks iconic.
Nope, not at all.
But when you're in there, it's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
It's very cool.
And even the decor in there, though, is not particularly like Western.
Nope.
It's
No,
just-
that's the funny thing is that, you end up with like, especially if you go to the writers' nights, you end up with all these guys in cowboy hats, even
Right.
if they're from Connecticut or whatever. But when you actually meet people in the music business there, at least when I was there, there's not a cowboy hat in sight. They're all in like black. Like they all look much more sort of New York or California than they do Western. It's kind of like the artists are trying to look Western. But yeah, so the Bluebird Cafe doesn't look Western.
Right.
Like the Ryman doesn't look like, none of those places have like that Western vibe.
Well, it was funny. Also, that movie Rhinestone with Sylvester Stallone
Right.
was like, he's trying to bring rock and roll to country. I think that already happened.
It did.
It's I think that after I've seen that new Ken Burns thing, the documentary on
Yeah.
country music, gives me a greater appreciation
Yeah.
for what happened there. But these were not country people exactly. They were people who loved music.
Right.
I mean, that's really the main point. And they were touring and they were going to cities. They weren't like hanging out on the farm.
Right.
But the image you get in country is they're hanging out on the farm.
Right. And it's pretty carefully cultivated too, like
Right.
that's kind of, they're trying to give you that image. I mean, it's still now today, even with like the kind of what they call bro country or whatever, there's still a lot about like hunting and fishing and like being out with your four-wheeler and that kind of thing. Whereas like you were saying, in reality, a lot of these artists aren't doing that. They're touring, going from city to city and living in their big houses wherever.
Right.
But,
I mean, and many of them have really big houses
Yeah.
because they're in Tennessee or wherever
Yeah.
and it's cheaper.
Exactly.
But it was a cool place. And
It is a cool place.
I went to the Country Music Hall of Fame, and I think I went to the Grand Ole Opry. There was a show.
Yep.
I didn't realize they were still doing. Are they still doing it?
As far as I know, every Saturday night.
Really?
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah, because that was a treat. I actually saw Grandpa Jones before he died.
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
I got to see Minnie Pearl and Roy Acuff before they
Yeah.
died. And
And Porter Wagner. I saw him.
yep. Yeah.
The guy who created the what is it, the rhinestone suit or whatever.
Oh, Manuel or Nudie. There was what's his first name? So there were Nudie suits. He was the first designer, and then the guy who took over for him is Manuel. But yeah, Porter Wagner had
Yeah.
all that like
Sparkly
outfit. Stuff. Yeah, I got to go. So this was like the great thing about working for the symphony, even though it wasn't like the country music business, it was the music business, and there was a lot of connections. And the symphony would do things at the Grand Ole Opry. We did a big show with Amy Grant for years there, but so we knew people. So a couple times I got to go to the Opry and like watch it backstage and hang out
Oh, wow.
backstage, and I got to do that in the Ryman. And there's all these old pictures. Yeah,
Did you get
It's
to
very
meet
cool.
some of the people?
Yep.
And,
Yeah, I have some pictures of me with some of the people. I'm a big fan of Marty Stewart, so
Oh, yeah?
yeah, I got to meet him a couple times at the Opry and have pictures, and yeah, so it's a lot of fun.
Well, it's that actually, even though it's not like, doesn't look particularly country, it feels it
Yeah.
in that place
Yeah.
because of the performances.
Yeah.
I mean, it really, they bring that out.
They've got like a down home vibe to what they're doing, even though the place is very grand. I mean, it is a very grand hall when you're in there,
Right. And I heard about Goo Goo clusters.
Yes.
When I was some guy my dad knew was like bringing us he would come to our house and he'd bring Goo Goo clusters. I'm like, oh, Goo Goo clusters. It's like a Snickers bar.
Right.
But then I figured it out when I was like 25 that it was GOO, G-O-O, Grand Ole Opry. And that's where those come from.
Yeah.
I was, but they have them there.
They do, and they still have like the signs and everything. Yep. Yeah.
So you get Goo Goo clusters. You can go get a Snickers bar. It's pretty much the same. But yeah. Although the peanuts are bigger in Goo Goo clusters. But
I haven't seen a Google cluster in years, so I will.
Yeah,
I
me
will take
either.
your word for it. But
But Yeah, that's and have you been back since the flooding?
No, in fact, though, I haven't been since the flooding. But so I left, and when I left, they were making plans to build a new symphony hall. And I left like right in the middle of that process, and they built it, and then the flooding happened, and I heard from all my friends at the symphony how the organ was ruined, and they had to it was crazy. So, but I haven't been back personally.
And the Ryman, is that open again?
I think it is now, but I'm not sure.
Yeah,
that's a good question.
Yeah, I'll have to look at that.
Yeah.
But yeah, they had flooding in Nashville. I'm not sure exactly when.
3 years ago?
Yeah,
I don't know. I'm not good with time anymore.
I don't think it was. I think it was more than 3 years.
Okay.
But yeah, it was upsetting because all these places that people go all the time and that have history sort of got ruined in this flood, which was pretty bad. And there's one other place I went to that I liked, which is the boot shop.
Yes.
Where they have music at a boot shop instead. It's not usually it's a music shop. They would do an open mic, but this is like they sell boots, and you can buy a boot while you're watching music.
Absolutely. Yep. That's right on Broadway, right? I'm thinking of the right place.
Yeah. It's near the Ryman.
Yeah. Okay.
It's like on that main strip.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's cool that you got to spend the time there. So,
like I said, I really learned a lot about performing and songwriting and everything. So, did you
leave before 9/11? Is that?
I did.
Yeah.
Yeah. In fact, one of the first places I flew to after 9/11 was Nashville, because I went back, I think, for someone's wedding or something. So that was kind of my first experience in an airport after 9/11 was to fly back to Nashville. So.
Well, what did you get that made you leave Nashville? What happened?
So a few different things. When I moved to Nashville in '95, it was just like, country music was just coming off this big sort of heyday. What they call it the class of '89, which was like Garth Brooks and Clint Black and Alan Jackson, and women were doing really well. There was like Trisha Yearwood and Pam Tillis and Kathy Mattea, all these great women artists. But that was also about the time that, like Napster was coming, and like they were sort of the wave they were riding was crusting. And in the 6 years I was there, they really started downsizing, like a lot of the people who had publishing deals, meaning they were just getting paid to write songs. They were getting advances from publishing companies to write songs, were getting laid off. It was they were kind of trying to figure out what the next big thing was going to be, because it wasn't sort of this traditional country sound anymore that Alan Jackson and Clint Black and all those people had. So there was that part of it, was that the music business down there was I don't want to say it was floundering, but it was changing. And I had come back up here to visit and found this like thriving music scene that was happening, in the folk world and the acoustic world.
Right.
And then the other piece was the thing about Nashville. It's a great city, and I met great people there, but it's a very transitory city, because people come and they say, I'm going to give it a year, I'm going to give it 2 years, and if I'm not a big star by then, or if I don't have a publishing contract by then or whatever, I'm going to leave. So I was there, like I said, a little over 6 years, and I felt like every 2 years I was having to like make new friends, like find a new social support system. And I kind of wanted a place that I would have some longer term friendships and history, and my family was up here and everything. So between that feeling and kind of what was happening in the music scene in Nashville, and knowing that there was a thriving music scene up here, it just kind of made sense to come back. And it was not an easy decision. I mean, my parents came down to help me move, and we pulled out of the parking lot to my apartment complex, and I was bawling. I was absolutely bawling. And there are still things I miss about it, about being in that kind of, I'm in a great music community up here, but it's a different kind of music community than Nashville. Like I said, there's there's sort of a different kind of focus, because people down there, most of them are really, really like trying to do this professionally at some level. So, and you do have people like that up here, but it's kind of mixed in with people who are, it's a hobby, or it's, just fun for them and whatever. So yeah, I do miss things about there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So, well, we've gone a while without a song
Yes.
here. We should do something musical.
Probably.
What would you like to play?
Well, so we're talking about country music and country songs, and I have a song called A Real Country Song.
Okay, let's do that.
Yeah.
You wrote this.
I did write it, and this is, speaking of country music artists, I was watching a really, and I say this, and this is not a judgment on all music competition shows, but this one in particular, I was watching a really terrible music competition show. Like, it just wasn't well done. But anyway, and I don't even think it lasted more than 6 episodes, but Travis Tritt, the country artist, was one of the judges.
Okay.
And after one of the artists sang, he said to them, a real country song should hurt a little bit.
Okay.
And I was like, well, that, I'm writing that down.
Sounds like a good line.
Yeah, because that could go somewhere. So that's where this song came from. A real country song should have a catch in its voice and a cry in the steel guitar. It should pierce your soul with the words in your heart, like it knows just who you are. It should make you long for everything you miss. A real country song should hurt a little bit. A real honky-tonk should have a neon sign and sawdust on the dance floor. Pitchers of beer and buckets of wings, and someone calling for one more. It should have a jukebox playing Straight and Jones. A real honky-tonk should make you feel a little more alone. And a real drink should have some fire, hard to swallow, with another that follows to kill the pain you're trying to drown. Yeah, a real drink should burn as it's going down. A real goodbye should rip a hole in your life and tear your heart to shreds. A pain that cuts so deep it makes you bleed, not just a word that was said. It should leave you looking for a thing you'll never find. A real goodbye should leave a piece of you behind. And a real goodbye is the reason with an old jukebox, playing a real country song. Thank you. Thank you.
That was great.
Thank you.
So you, when you write songs, it sounds like most people, you hear a phrase or a word and you just immediately go, "Oh, that's a song."
Yeah, I mean, that's I like to say I come from the Nashville School of Songwriting, because when I was there, I attended a lot of workshops at the Nashville Songwriters Association, and that's really kind of how they sort of recommend you do it, is you find a phrase or a hook or whatever and kind of build the song around that. So I have a little notebook that, has just phrases written down in it, and sometimes I'll come up with a chord progression and look at my book and see if there's a phrase that works with that chord progression, or sometimes a phrase, just I hear it and like the whole song is already in my head around it. That doesn't happen very often. That's nice when that happens.
Yeah.
But so it's usually from some sort of phrase.
Yeah. Well, let's hear another song.
I have another song. Okay.
You got another one for us?
Sure. So I'll play one that actually didn't come about that way. And it's a cold day, so I'll give us a little bit of summer. But I love to hang my sheets and towels on the line in the summer.
Oh, okay.
And I was, one summer day I had done that, and I taken them down and was making the bed, and I just kind of started humming this little tune while I was making the bed, and I thought, oh, this could be a song. So there wasn't any, I was really just kind of like humming what I was doing, like I'm taking the sheets down, da da da, and so kind of turned into this song.
Cool.
It's called A Little Bit of Heaven. I hung our sheets out to dry on the backyard clothesline. When we crawl in bed tonight, we'll breathe summer and sweet sunshine. That's a little bit of heaven. That's a little bit of heaven right here. Berries bubble in a flaky crust, topped with cream I just whipped up. Silver glaze melts on my tongue, each bite better than the last one. That's a little bit of heaven. That's a little bit of heaven right here. They say paradise is waiting on the other side. I say heaven's just a state of mind. Rain rattles that old tin roof, radio is singing the blues. We got the couch pushed against the door so we can dance across the living room floor. That's a little bit of heaven. That's a little bit of heaven right here. That's a little bit of heaven. That's a little bit of heaven right here. Thank you.
That's good. We have somebody in the peanut gallery also clapping. So that sounds great. And so I think those songs are good when you have like a song that's just about kind of being where you are and doing what you're doing. I've got one of those.
Yeah.
I think that's a good exercise, is to try and write a song where you're really just write it.
Yeah.
Like it doesn't have a lot of meaning deeper than, hey, I'm alive.
Right. Yep. And it's funny too, because like you said, it isn't a particularly deep song as far as you don't have to like really analyze the lyrics or everything. But people really like that song. It's one of their favorites, and it must tap into what you were just talking about. Just sort of this idea of like, in the moment, here we are, I'm alive. Yeah. So
reminds me of "Don't Worry, Be Happy" and things like that. Although that actually has a little meaning to it, but anyway. So you left in 2001, and you had a hard time with that, but you must have come back for something. What did you come back for?
Yeah, I mean, like I said, my family is up here, and I just, I certainly wasn't like giving up music or anything like that. That was never part of the plan. I knew I was going to come back up here and do music up here. I think I just, like I mentioned before, sort of the transitory nature of Nashville was getting to me a little bit. And, so I came back up and, had old friends up here and made new friends that are now old friends. And my parents and my grandparents have passed away now, but they were up here, my parents and everything. So, just kind of felt more like this was the place that was really home. But I came back and to like late 2001, got myself settled and started to go out to open mics here in 2002. So I knew I wanted to keep doing music for sure. Did
you find work here other than music? Other than performance?
Yep. I found when I first moved back, I found another temp job that I stayed at for like a year. I moved back in with my parents and got this job and saved money, and then moved out and then got a job which was really interesting at the Museum of Science. So,
cool.
Which is totally different than anything I'd ever done. And it was there for 6 years. And again, that was a good job as far as like I was working for their courses department, and I was the registrar, and then I was the operations coordinator. So it was busy and it was a lot of work during the day, but it wasn't work to bring home at night.
Okay.
Like I could leave work at work, and that's what I wanted. And because then I would have time to write and perform and go out to open mics. And when I started going out to open mics and meeting other musicians, I met some folks that we actually started a trio back in like 2003 and started to play around, and things just kind of evolved from there. One of our trio in like 2005, 2006 moved to Austin. So that was the end of that trio. But,
what was the name of that?
Northern Edge.
Okay.
Northern Edge, yeah. And then, so Dave Simmons and I still played together, and we still do now. Over, we do like farmers markets and things like that over the course of the year as a duo. And that's fun because that's more, we do original music, but we do a lot of covers. And I also play the flute. I mentioned studying the flute in college, and it gives me a chance to play the flute and sing harmonies and all that stuff that I can't do when I'm playing solo. So yeah.
So when you came back, you worked at the Museum of Science. Did you ever look for a job at like the symphony, since you had that?
I did, yeah. So I actually looked. I applied for a couple jobs at the symphony. I applied, almost got a job at the Boston Conservatory. Maybe with the lyric opera. Yeah, I did. I applied for a lot of arts administration jobs, and I eventually ended up where I am now and have been for 11 years, which is at a church and a church in Harvard Square, which at first glance doesn't sound very musical, but it is actually a huge venue, especially for classical groups like Handel and Haydn. Just had a show there this weekend. Blue Heron Renaissance Choir, Boston Early Music Festival does a bunch of shows there. Yeah, so a lot of my job is kind of being that person who coordinates.
Which church?
It's First Church in Cambridge. It's the big stone church next to the Sheridan Commander.
Oh, okay.
So it's not the white one where like the Nameless Coffee House used to be, like the one that's right near Club Passim. It's a little further down.
Okay.
But yeah, so that job is actually very full of arts administration kind of things to do. So
plus, if you're at work, you're right next to Passim.
Right.
You can just hang out there.
Yep, it's absolutely. And it's a very flexible job. I have a lot of autonomy, and I can leave and go gig if I need to, if I'm traveling or whatever. So it's been really great.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to take a short break here.
Okay.
And then we'll keep talking.
Sounds good.
All right, so we're talking to Kirsten Manville, and I just wanted to come in and say that the Hearing Room is where we are, and we are looking for memberships. The Hearing Room is a 501c3, and we are supported entirely by donations and money coming in through the events we have, which is not, we don't ask for much. We have a suggested donation of $5 for most of the open mic events, and we have other shows that are going on, but we give a good percentage of that to the musicians. So what we really need is for people to help us pay our rent and stay open with $100 a year. So it's $100. You get the $5 fee that isn't really a fee, the suggested donation. We say you don't have to cover that. You could just do it all at once in the $100, and that'll help us get through the year. We pay our rent and our utilities, and then we take donations for a lot of the equipment and other things we have here. But just to keep us open, that's what the membership is for, so we need it. Check out hearingroom.net, and the membership is on a page there. You can pay directly online, or when you're here at an event for an open mic or a jam or any of those things, you can talk to any of the people who look like they're in charge. That would be me, Aaron Tornberg, or Mark Hebert, Kaylin Graber, anyone who seems to know where the membership cards are. So you can check with us, and it's something we really need. Please look into it. We also want to thank the Greenville Junction Shop, which does sponsor this show and also does a lot for the Hearing Room. The Greenville Junction Shop is in Greenville, New Hampshire, and Clinton, Massachusetts. And they are a great place to get your upcycled items. They have furniture and electronics and household appliances, and it's a place to really contribute to the environment and making sure that we don't put as much garbage out there as we otherwise would. This is stuff that somebody thought was garbage, but wasn't actually garbage. It actually is fine. People do throw away a lot of perfectly good stuff for various reasons. Well, the Greenville Junction Shop is stopping that process and saying, hey, wait a minute. We've got the ability to resell this, and so we're going to buy it from you and resell it to our customers. So Greenville, New Hampshire, and Clinton, Massachusetts is where they're located, but they can be found on Facebook at Greenville Junction, Junction, Shoppe, Shoppe. So Greenville Junction Shop on Facebook and on Facebook Marketplace. Also, they have a website coming up, Greenville Junction, that's Greenville, JUNKTION.com. And you can check it all out online. Also, check the Hearing Room at hearingroom.net, and that's it. So we're back with Kirsten Manville. So, Kirsten, I think, I hate to put you on the spot, but another song would be nice.
Okay.
I figure you're prepared with something there.
Yeah, I've got a few I can pull out.
All right. Let's have a song.
Yeah, let's do.
We've been light on songs in the first half,
Yeah,
so
we
need
talked
few.
a lot. I didn't even. That didn't feel like 40 minutes to me at all. Whatever it's been.
No, me either. That was fun.
Yeah. So I'll play this little. This is an older song of mine, but just to do something a little different, I'll play this little cowboy waltz that I wrote.
Okay.
I ordered some scotch to wash your memory away. One round clears you right from my mind. Fool in my head I've left your love behind, but I can't fool my heart. It's gonna take more than water and scotch to stop me loving you. No matter what I try, my heart won't buy the lie, and I still fall apart. No, I can't fool my heart. He asked me to dance, and I said yes. And I hold him close like it's love, fooled by his warmth and soft caress, that I don't long for your touch, but I can't fool my heart. It's gonna take more than some cowboy's arms to stop me loving you. No matter what I try, my heart won't buy the lie, and I still fall apart. No, I can't fool my heart. I can't fool my heart. It's gonna take more than cowboys and scotch to stop me loving you. No matter what I try, my heart won't buy the lie, and I still fall apart. No, I can't fool my heart. No, I can't fool my heart.
Great.
Thank you.
I like cowboy songs.
Me too.
I was a Roy Rogers, Gene Autry fan for a little while. I actually wrote Roy Rogers a letter and asked him how he does his songwriting. So his secretary sent me back a letter that said, whatever is better, lyrics. I asked him if lyrics or music came first, which is a dumb question. But then he said, whatever I feel like doing, basically. Except that he didn't, his secretary did.
His secretary wrote me back.
The canned answer was. But I got an autograph sent back to me, so that was nice.
Nice.
The weird thing is, we were talking about how in Nashville, the country stars cultivate this country image. Roy Rogers, like every movie, is not about him riding the range. It's about him being a movie cowboy. Right. It's like everything is set on a movie set. And so it's like and the bank robbers are like these 1940s gangster stereotypes who are doing something criminal, or it's funny. But he had some great songs too.
Yeah. Yep.
So who are your heroes? You've heard some of the country ones. Do you have others that are like your musical influences?
Sure. I mean, certainly, just to kind of start a little bit with the country ones. So just to mention Barbara Mandrell again, I mean, that was just a huge influence on me as a little girl, because not only were they singing, but I mean, you can look up stuff on YouTube, but those women could play, like they, she played sax and steel guitar and banjo, and Louise Mandrell played bass, and also was like, there's one scene where she and Charlie Daniels go back on the fiddle. It's that they do, which is really great. And the third sister, Arlene, was a drummer and played vibraphone and all this stuff. So I think certainly seeing these women like also be great instrumentalists as far as, their whole musicianship was just fantastic. So that was a huge influence. I mentioned Marty Stewart, who just, I think, epitomizes kind of like clean, down-home songwriting, and he's also a great instrumentalist, which I am not on the guitar. So it's funny that I say that, but I'm a little more proficient on the flute.
Yeah, well, but you play a lot of stuff, so
yeah.
And the guitar sounds great, so.
But I'm definitely not like it. This is a new to me Martin, so I'm very excited about this guitar. Yeah, but then I think it was more obvious in the songs I was writing in my 20s because I was just out of college, but I definitely pulled from the classical stuff that I was studying at the time when I was in college. And one of my favorite composers was Fauré, who's very melodic, and the Baroque, one of my favorite Baroque composers is Scarlatti, who's like kind of so I don't know if I could point to something in my song now and be like, that's from classical, but that definitely, it's sort of all amalgamated in my head. And then the other piece was what my parents were listening to, which I know is very common, but, my parents loved Tommy Makem and Peter Paul and Mary and Gordon Lightfoot. And I listened to my dad's vinyl albums of American Graffiti over and over and over again. So, so that stuff kind of got all, I think, kind of all fused together. And then, like I said, my grandfather was kind of playing, sort of more of the stuff from the 40s on the piano and everything. So I definitely had a lot of different kinds of music kind of converging all on me at once, which was great. And then, I also really love the music business. So it was also just interesting for me to watch people, like how they develop their careers. That had a big influence as well. So,
right.
Yeah.
So when you go out and do the farmers markets, typically you got to come up with a lot of material. So you're probably covering some stuff.
Yeah. So when Dave and I do those, we do a lot of covers, which is, which, like I said, is fun for me because it's different. And, we do a ton of covers that we've arranged.
Like?
Oh, sure. Put me on the spot. Because I'm not be able to pull any from my brain. What did Dave and I play? Oh, we play like Two More Bottles of Wine by Delbert McClinton, and we play it's like flute, play Marshall Tucker Band, This Old Cowboy. We've played some Gordon Lightfoot. We've played some Alison Krauss. We've played why am I blanking on this? Some more kind of like 70s rock stuff that he likes that I'm not. We do some Eagles. We kind of run the gamut. And we do some kind of old, like, we'll do like, what's that old folk song?
There's lots of them.
I know. This is bad. My brain.
Can you sing it?
That's what I'm trying to do. My lady love, da, 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 across the wide Missouri. Across the wide Missouri.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, we do that. So, we do a bunch of different things.
So, can you do a cover?
Can I do a cover?
Anything?
Yeah. This is actually a cover that I do in my solo shows too. So I know I can play this one.
Good.
Jolene, 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 Jolene. Well, I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene,
Jolene, Jolene, Jolene. Oh, please don't take 'em just because you can. Your beauty is beyond compare, with flaming locks of auburn hair, ivory skin, and eyes of emerald green. Your voice is like a summer spring, smile as soft as summer rain, and I cannot compete with you, Jolene. He talks about you in his sleep. There's nothing I can do to keep from crying when he calls your name, Jolene. And I can easily understand how you could easily take my man, but you don't know what he means to me, Jolene. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Well, I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Oh, please don't take 'em just because you can. You could have your choice of men, but I could never love again. He's the only one for me, Jolene. I had to have this talk with you. My happiness depends on you, and whatever you decide to do, Jolene. Jolene, 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 Jolene. I'm begging of you, please don't take my man. Jolene, 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 Jolene. Oh, please don't take 'em just because you can. Oh, please don't take 'em even though you can. Jolene, Jolene.
Thank you, thank you.
That was great. So Dolly Parton is an amazing songwriter.
Yes, absolutely, and vocalist. What she can do vocally too is also
Right.
amazing. Yep.
But like when I saw her, when you see her in the 80s and, she was doing 9 to 5 and
Yeah.
all these other things, I never really appreciated because she was sort of a caricature of
Yes.
herself.
Absolutely.
And it was like always like jokes about her body and, it's just it wasn't clear that, this is an amazing songwriter and musician, and
Yep.
she didn't show that. It just was there.
Yeah.
And 9 to 5 is an amazing song,
Yeah.
all that stuff.
Yeah, the craft, like when you listen to her songs and how they're crafted, it's really brilliant.
And Coat of Many Colors is
Yep.
beautiful, and to write that when she did and when she was so young, I
Yeah.
mean, a really good song.
Yeah. She's great.
And so you like to cover a lot of country stuff, it sounds like.
I do. I mean, that's kind of, mostly what I gravitate towards is country, Americana, folky kind of stuff. But, I'm also playing in this is kind of new to me, but in this female group now called the Sweet Janes. And the two other members of the group are very into pop and stuff. So I'm learning all these other songs, and I'm a little bit out of my comfort zone, which is probably good because it's not something I normally do. And that's, they're both full-time musicians, and a lot of their bread and butter is like cover gigs. One of them's in a wedding band and that kind of thing.
Right.
So this is like kind of what they do, and they're just very comfortable. And, I'm at rehearsal with them, figuring out the harmonies and stuff. And it's, these songs that I've sort of heard on the radio but don't know that well, and trying to jump in. So
what are you doing in the band? Are you vocals or are you doing something else?
doing vocals, and a little bit of flute and a little bit of bass sometimes, which is also a little making me a little bit out of my comfort zone.
I've been actually thinking of doing that, taking up bass, because if you play guitar, you can do it.
Right. And I do very simple bass lines. I mean, it's not anything, but yeah. So, but speaking of bass, like we're learning the Meghan Trainor song, like all about that bass, and yeah. So,
Really?
Yeah. So very different than what I usually gravitate towards. So it's good for me. It's good for me to do that and figure out those harmonies and stuff.
See, that's brave. I have trouble jumping into a completely, like I stick with folk.
Yeah.
And I sometimes play with other people, but typically I'm much more comfortable if I just do my thing.
Yeah.
But the going out, like I've tried to do some of that stuff, like trying to do rock or things where you're showcasing guitar rather than the song.
Right. Yeah.
It's challenging.
Yeah.
And even bass, being able to just hold that bass line is tough too sometimes.
Yeah. So like I said, very simple bass lines for me. I'm not doing anything fancy. But yeah, so I'm learning a bunch of new covers. And the fun thing about when we started this group, it's kind of like a side project for all of us because we all have our main things, is we were just like, we're just going to pick songs that we like to play. So we do everything from like, Be My Baby and Will You Still Love Me Tomorrow, like things from the 60s to like Manic Monday and Little Red Corvette from the 80s.
Oh, that's
and
a good one.
Like, things like All About the Bass and,
Lady Gaga.
We don't do any Lady. We do some Elle King, like the X's and O's song, like so. Yeah, so we're just kind of running the gamut from like the '60s to now, just songs that one of us would be like, "Hey, do you guys like this song? Let's try this one." So yeah,
it's interesting. We're close in age, and when we were growing up, like it wasn't '80s music that I was listening to. It was '60s music because it was the boomers like just took over the airwaves, and you didn't, we obviously Michael Jackson, Madonna, all that stuff was out there, but most of the people I knew were not listening to that stuff as their main bread and butter. Like they were listening to the old stuff, classic rock. That was really big.
It was. I mean, I definitely listened. I definitely listened to '80s music in the '80s. But I, too, was listening, like I was talking about, my dad's stuff, and like, because he always had the oldies channel on, and the classic rock stuff was still huge. And then I was also, and no one in my school was doing this, like I was listening to country music. So I was like, some of the pop stuff I totally missed too because I wasn't really tuned in as well.
Well, it wasn't cool back then.
No, it
wasn't at all.
And I wasn't very cool anyway, so I definitely wasn't like sharing with people that I was listening to country music. So
and I grew up in like my high school years, all that was in Kansas City. And even there, it was cooler to listen to rock and roll. You would think it's the middle of the country, maybe they'd like it. No, it was rock. It was pretty. And actually, if you go to Iowa and places like that, they're really hardcore. Like it's not country at all.
Wow.
It's heavy metal.
Wow.
But it's kind of cool that you were into country back then because it wasn't something everybody did.
No, definitely not something anyone did when I was growing up that other than me and a few of my friends
but
knew.
when Garth Brooks hit,
that was kind of the turning point.
Because although I really like also Randy Travis.
Well, he was a huge, like I sort of started with Barb Mandrell and that show, and that kind of expanded from there, and he was one of the first people I discovered in that just traditional, like that album. I mean, his first album was good too, but that second album of his that has like "I'm Gonna Love You Forever and Ever, Amen" and those kind of like really classic country songs, it became one of my favorites. Yeah,
"Forever and Ever, Amen" I cover, and I love that. And also his voice is perfect for me.
Yes,
because he's got a really low like baritone kind of, and so fits my range perfectly. But his stuff was influential of all the country. Like I got Roy Rogers, Gene Autry, and Randy Travis, Garth Brooks, and Hank Williams Sr.
Yep.
I didn't like Junior so much.
Yeah, me neither. I mean, he was okay, but yeah.
Yeah, his dad was pretty amazing.
Yep.
But it's that's cool that you were into that, and you had your parents were into that a little too. It sounds like.
Yeah, I mean, my parents just both really like music, and my dad was a little bit into the country, a little bit into the rock stuff. My mom was sort of always more like the folk and the kind of even sometimes more world music sort of stuff. But yeah, they my dad always had the radio on in the car and was listening to things and singing along and stuff. So
yeah, and Barbara Mandrell was pretty big back then.
Yes, that was like her big heyday. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. And she had the whole Porter Wagoner thing too with the sparkly dresses.
Yep.
And, the Mandrell sisters were pretty good. That show was good.
Yeah.
So what could you play that is a little outside your comfort zone right now that you've been covering? Anything?
Oh boy. Okay, let me think about this.
Doesn't have to be completely outside. Just something that's not expected.
Well, I can try. I haven't played this in a little while.
All right, we'll forgive you.
No, so the words might not come, but this is my.
Give it a shot.
Yeah.
If you forget, you can stop.
Or you might know the words and can jump in.
Guess I should have known by the way you parked your car sideways.
See, I already forgot. How does this go?
I don't know it.
Yes, you do. It's Little Red Corvette.
I guess I should have known by the way you parked your car sideways it wouldn't last.
There we go.
See, you're the kind of person who believes in making out once, love 'em and leave 'em fast. And I guess he must be dumb. He had a bucket full of horses, Trojans, and some of them used.
That wasn't even English.
It was Saturday night. I guess that makes it all right. And you say, what have I got to lose? And honey, I say, little red Corvette, baby, you're much too fast. Little red Corvette, you need to find a love that's gonna last. Ooh.
I might just have to stop here because I'm not sure I can do the rest
I guess
of
I should have closed my eyes.
Oh, thank you.
I looked it up.
I guess I should have closed my eyes when you took me to the place where your horses run free. And I got a little ill.
Right?
Saw the pictures
of the jockeys that were there before me. Believe it or not, I started to worry. I wondered if I had enough class. But it was Saturday night. I guess that makes it alright. And you said, baby, have you got enough gas? Oh yeah, little red Corvette, baby, you're much too fast. Little red Corvette, you need to find a love that's gonna last. A body like yours ought to be in jail. It's on the verge of being obscene. Move over, baby, give me the keys. I'm gonna try to tame your little red love machine. Yeah, little red Corvette, baby, you're much too fast. Little red Corvette, you need to find a love that's gonna last. Little red Corvette, honey, you've got to slow down. Little red Corvette, you're gonna run that little red Corvette to the ground. Little red Corvette, little red Corvette.
Thank you. I made it through.
That was good.
See, with the Sweet Janes, we all only sing like one verse, and then we do the chorus and harmony. So I didn't have all the words in my head, but
Well, that's
thank
why
you for your help.
I looked it up
Yeah.
to make sure. That's great. So, what are you writing lately? Are you doing some albums? And
So I am writing. I'm trying to work this out in my head. I have like 5 or 6 songs that are ready to go, and I really want to get music out there. And I've got other songs. I've got like 3 or 4 more songs that are kind of in draft form, pretty far along. So I'm thinking of doing like a 5-song EP, like digital release only, and
Okay.
trying to get back into the studio soon to do that, and then keep writing and do the other 5 or 6 songs, and then maybe release it as a full-length album at some point, and I'd have a physical product for that. I know we're getting to the point where physical products are,
Right.
people don't even have CD players anymore. But so I'd like to get in and do some stuff soon, because my last album came out in late 2017. So I'm kind of chomping at the bit to get new music out there.
Okay,
So,
that's great. You got a new one you want to play?
Yeah, I can play. So the Real Country Song is fairly new. That would go on this
Okay.
little EP, but I've got another one I can. And this is a example of a phrase thing. I was reading something, and it said it's all over but the crying.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's all over but the crying. It's all done but for the pain. We had our moment in the sunshine. Now it's time for some rain. We've talked it out till there's nothing left to say. The ticking clock's the only sound in the house. We've been silent for days. You turn away when I catch your eye, and I turn away when we say goodnight. Why do we still stay? 'Cause it's all over but the crying. It's all done but for the pain. We had our moment in the sunshine. Now it's time for the rain. We're not giving up, we're just giving in. And it's not losing when you just can't win. We've been tying ourselves in knots, trying to be something we're not, and the rope has worn too thin. Oh, it's all over but the crying. It's all done but for the pain. We had our moment in the sunshine. Now it's time for some rain. There's nothing left for us to do. It's time we stop trying. 'Cause it's all over but the crying. Oh, it's all over but the crying.
So how many albums do you have out?
So I have 2 solo albums. One came out in 2013 called Come With Me, and Some People Sin came out in late 2017, as I mentioned. And then Dave and I have actually done some albums I think our first one came out in 2006, and then 2009 and 2012. So I've got some albums with him too, and those do have some covers on them and some of our originals. And Dave is he's funny when he jokes about his songwriting. He's like, I'm good for one song a year, so
Yeah.
it takes us a little while to get enough originals for both of us to and I try to keep the originals that I do with him different than the originals I do on my own, just for kind of just like audience sake. I don't want them to come every time they come see me or come see me and Dave. It's like the same songs over and over again. So,
Right.
Yeah.
It's always good to mix it up.
Yeah.
So you had a lot of interesting experiences, being in music for so long. Mm-hmm. So what advice do you give to people who are getting into this?
So I think one of the best pieces of advice that was given to me that I tell people is that, just pay attention, like, every single time you watch someone play, because even if they're a total beginner, they can still teach you something. There's probably still something that you can learn from what they're doing. Maybe they have a cool chord progression that you've never seen before, or, and I think that's been the biggest thing for me. Like, I, when you go out to open mics and you're sitting through people performing and waiting your turn, and sometimes I look and I see the other open micers are like on their phone or not paying attention to who's up on stage, and I'm just like,
sorry, what? What?
That never happens, right? Never
Right,
happens
never.
at the hearing room. I'm just like, no, pay attention. Like, that this is cool. So I think that's a huge piece. Another huge piece is, like, I've worked really hard to, on my songwriting. And if even songs from 5 years ago that I wrote and songs now, I'm hoping you can tell a difference. And I think you should always be trying to improve yourself and improve your performance and what you can do. And, just like always be working towards a bigger goal, and kind of keep yourself moving. So, and then the third piece is like, and I know this is just something I gravitate towards, not everyone does, but I think it's so helpful to really know a little bit about the music business part of it. If you're trying to do that, if you're trying to perform and,
Right.
Just kind of learn about the marketing part and the publicity part, and, all, just so you have a basic understanding of what you need to do. Even if you're hiring other people to do it, you kind of have a sense of what the bigger picture should be.
Well, how did you find out about it?
So I just always loved it, and would ask questions of people, and would go to workshops and stuff. But then I actually, and I'm not saying everyone should do this, but I actually got a master's certificate from Berkeley Online in music business. So
okay.
Yeah, so, and I have a little like side music business consulting business happening, that I started it, and then I got busy, and sort of I ended with a client and said, okay, I'm going to take a break, but now I'm back in it again and have another client. So,
well, how would people hire you if they're interested?
They could email me at kirsten@kirstenmanville.com and say they're interested in, and we could go from there.
And I'm guessing that's your website.
Yes, it is. kirstenmanville.com. Yeah.
And that's spelled KIRSTEN.
Yeah.
Manville.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Sort of like Greenville, actually, almost.
Yeah. Yep.
Manville.
Yeah.
So, people can hire you there, and your music is there too. Right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So the music business stuff I've helped people just with like basic things like writing bios, to like helping them kind of figure out their branding and what what makes them different from other people. I've done some consulting on websites and what should be on websites and what shouldn't be on websites and that kind of thing, how to make it the most user friendly for people and bookers and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. So it runs the gamut. I do a little booking for one person in particular. So
do you want to mention them?
Yeah, it's Don White. I help him a little bit with some booking. Okay. So yeah, so there's I do a gamut of it kind of runs the gamut sort of depending on what people need, and right now it's just an hourly rate. So
that's good.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool that you can do that and continue with your own stuff.
Yeah. And like I said, I am one of those, I know, rare musicians who actually kind of like the business part of it too. So, yeah. But,
so do you got one more song before we close it out?
Sure. Let's see. What shall I play? I'll play this kind of older song. That's been in my head lately.
Well, you don't notice me, but that's okay. I'm gonna turn your head one of these days. I'll smile and you'll see me in a different light. And it might take a while, but boy, that's alright. Baby, I've got nothing but time. I know the moon and the stars will align. One night you'll realize you were meant to be mine. Baby, I've got nothing but time. And when we finally kiss, it'll taste so sweet. You'll wonder how you lived without loving me. It might be destiny, or it might be fate. Either way, I know it's worth the wait. And baby, I've got nothing but time. I know the moon and the stars will align. One night you'll realize you were meant to be mine. Baby, I've got nothing but time. Nothing but time. Nothing but time.
Thank you so much for having me. This was so much fun.
Yeah, well, thanks for coming. It was great. It was fun talking to you, and we will, I'm sure, be seeing more of you around the hearing room.
I hope so. Yeah.
And you also might want to let people know where you usually are, and like where can they find you now?
Yeah. So, speaking about open mics, I actually host an open mic once a month, the second Sunday of the month at Walnut Street Cafe in Lynn, which is a great open mic. And I keep trying to get Aaron there, but because he's got the open mic from 2 to 5 here on Sundays. I know that's a lot, but
yeah, I'm going to try.
But I'd love to get you down there, Aaron. So if you're looking for a great open mic, come on out to that second Sunday of the month. As far as performances and so forth, I'm around, and as Aaron mentioned, my website KirstenManville.com has show information, and if you go to Facebook.com/KirstenManvilleMusic and like my Facebook page, you can find that out. So coming up, I got something at the Burn on the 27th of February. In March, I'm with the Sweet Janes in Lynn. I'm with Tim Foley in Vermont, Bellows Falls, Vermont, in case you have any Vermonters listening.
You never know.
You never know. Stage 33 at the end of the month. So, yeah, I've got some stuff lined up. So
all right,
check
great.
out my pages. Thank you.
And the open mic is what time?
7:30.
7:30.
Usually over by like 10 or 10:15. So,
okay.
Yeah.
So the open mic second Sunday of the month?
Yeah. So the next one is March 8th.
Okay. Sounds good. All right, so we've been talking with Kirsten Manville, and this has been the Woodshed podcast. We always want you to come and check out our website. You can become a member. You can check out our events and come and join us for one of those. It's hearingroom.net, and we want to thank the Greenville Junction Shoppy, SHOPPE and JUNKTION. Greenville Junction Shop in Greenville, New Hampshire, and Clinton, Mass. Upcycling for you. So, have a great week.
If you start with a dream and share it with some friends, the idea deepens and grows. The dream takes shape, it has form and substance, a community soon arose. A listening room, a hearing room, a place to find a home to play. A listening room, the hearing room, express your